Not so good. All right, hey, welcome back to Tuesday show.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We have the UltraChen Awards still happening. What do we got next? What's the next one?
Before we start, I just want to ask everybody, if they've just tuned in, we've changed our microphones this year. We've got lapel mics here.
Did that sound bad?
No, it wasn't terrible. And so we're trying this instead because I know in the previous years we've gone with, just an area microphone. And it's always sounded a little echoey in here. So this is an experiment. We're trying this out. So people let us know what you guys actually feel like, if this sounds better or worse. I know I can tell from my headsets that, like, for example, if I'm talking here or if I'm talking here, I get louder because it's obviously over here. Same for you when you turn your head. So there's some kind of interesting volume stuff, but, just in case, I'm just wondering if people have any feedback on that. Feel free to let us know at UltraChenTV, and might as well include at jchensor and at UltraDavid in there as well. So
sounds good.
There you go. Okay.
Well, up next, we're going to be talking about our story of the year for 2017. Story of the year.
And so you're actually going to start.
Oh,
this
really?
One. Yes. Yeah. So story of the year.
The Dominicans.
Dominicans.
Good work.
What a good story.
The Dominicans. Oh, yeah? Are you jealous now, huh?
Yeah, I'm hella jealous.
Mission accomplished.
Oh, man.
I am very happy for them.
Yeah.
It's not like
change
new news. No.
Can I change my...
No copy. Not like news that they're good at fighting games, but this year, really maybe like the last year and a half, has been such a breakout for them. Mm-hmm. Men are D1, Capcom Club, obviously, but even on top of that, Kaba has placed really high in a bunch of events. DRA has been doing so for quite a while. He beat Tokido at Capcom Cup.
Right, last year.
Previous year.
Hochi Focus beat Nemo.
Boy, tough times.
Oh, come on.
Tough times. Even Gross, who's from DR originally, now lives in Florida. He had awesome showings at Evo and at IPS Finals. So
he even had an awesome showing at First Attack as well.
Oh, she sure did.
Yeah,
he sure did. He sure did. So, yeah, I'm really happy for that scene, and it was super cool to hear about the government recognizing Mena RD as like doing good work.
Yeah,
that's super
right.
Awesome. So I'm very happy for everybody involved, and I hope to see all those players more. Mena's been traveling, but I hope that the other guys get to travel a lot more too, because he's not the only good player there. There's a bunch more.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because like if you think, like, people have talked about this, but the amount of money that he won at Capcom Cup, like for a lot of people, that's like, oh, that's life-changing money, but like, for being in the Dominican Republic, I mean, they said that he could like buy a mansion and a car and still have like way tons of money left over. Like, and he even said in that video he was going to use it to build up the community down there. So, if that's what happens, man, the Dominicans can be a scary scene coming up in the future. So, my story number 3 of the year. Okay. I kind of hinted at this a little bit earlier. Okay. But I want to say, it's kind of hard to say it this way, but, the 2017 was kind of, okay. Obviously 2017 was great. There's a lot of great things that happened this year, right? But it's just like you said, last year we were like, oh, we're totally esports now and all this stuff, and everyone's like, 2017 is going to be the big year. Everything is going to go crazy. But, I know a lot of the feelings towards towards Season 2 were a little bit muted. MVCI didn't have a proper reaction, a great reaction to that and everything. So there was just a lot of things that I felt like kind of pulled us back a little bit this year. And I don't feel like that this was kind of the breakout year that a lot of people were expecting. And honestly, that's what 2018 is starting to look like now. But I mean, we say this every year, right? We say this every year. But honestly, I was actually kind of surprised. Like, going back and thinking about all the stories and thinking about all these things, and I was like, this year doesn't feel, I don't know. It just didn't feel quite as like as it should have, even though, like I said, Injustice, Tekken had great years and all these scenes are rising up and all these cool people are doing cool things. But I don't know. There's just something about it that, just wasn't quite there for me. So,
alrighty, fair enough. My second place story of the year is Tokido cements himself as the best fighting game player of all time.
Okay.
Cemented.
Cemented.
Done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
He has always been in the conversation, of course. It's always been a limited conversation, him and a few others. And for many years, there wasn't like a lot of movement on that, right? He obviously is still good, but there wasn't like a lot of movement on like Tokido versus 3 or 4 other people.
Right.
Now it's just it's not a conversation anymore. To have the amount of success that he has had for the years he's had, the degree of success, other people are still doing awesome stuff, right?
Right.
Like, Justin was awesome at that time when Tokido was early as well. He's still in Capcom Cup, right? He's still in Battle for the Sun. He's still doing awesome work. It's not like Tokido is, looking down on everybody else from a mountaintop. It's not so far, but I really feel that there is, at this point, a significant enough separation that he's the best.
Yeah. I don't...
All sorts of games. It's not just Street Fighter and Capcom games, which is, I guess, now what he's known for, but it's really not that. It was 3D games in the past, and it was other games. He made KOF 13 Grand Finals at EVO, right?
No. That was Shanghai and ET this year.
No.
Oh, but before in the past. Yeah. Oh, and KOF 13. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, my bad. But I mean, it's crazy to me because like I always tell that story of him walking around EVO with like 5-7 medals around his neck, and I was like, what the hell? And then he's like, you know what? I need to drop all those things because I need to focus on only Street Fighter. And now this is what a focused Tokido is. He's getting first and second at EVO and Capcom Cup. So obviously, he's pretty much the best of the GOAT. I just typed in Tokido GOAT.
The GOAT.
The greatest of all time.
Wow, there was a hockey. So Daigo equals Wayne Gretzky, Tokido equals Mario Lemieux. Wayne Gretzky has the ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
Right? He has more points than anybody else has.
Ever, right?
Assists than anybody else has points. Anyway, he's far and away. But then other people say, well, what if Mario Lemieux didn't have back problems and cancer and other stuff, hip issues? Would he have been the best ever? Because his points per game were absurd. So there's like, goes back and forth a little bit. I don't really think that's true for this. I think maybe Daigo is like Gordie Howe, where he was like super good for his era, and now he's good. But it's like Tokido's still winning Evo.
Tokido is pretty much the best.
He's probably Gretzky to me.
Okay, my number 2 story, which yes, we're at number 2, right? Yes, number 2 story is this has been happening for a while, but I'm just going to call Rise of the Youth again.
The youth,
because the young players are really starting to dominate. I mean, really, Tokido and maybe Kudans are like the right now are like the last bastions of trying to hang on to. Not saying that JDCR and Saint are young, because they are obviously been playing Tekken almost just as long, right? But, with guys like Sonic Fox and Mena RD and Punk and all these guys here, even in Japan, right? A lot of the top players like Pono Smoke, super young kind of. Oh, I don't know. He looked young. Maybe he's not actually. Maybe he's not young. I don't know. He looks like a baby to me, right? So, but I just really feel like this is really starting to show that, when you're fostered in an environment where you feel like you have the ability to succeed, like, not just by winning, but succeed by having some sort of career. When you're in your youth and you have that ability to learn, you're at the prime of your age, that you have that ability to learn, to adapt, that, you can't teach an old dog new tricks kind of thing, right? But when you have that path ahead of you and the motivation to play out of your mind, you're going to end up with guys like Punk and Sonic Fox, and these kind of players like that. And so, again, one of the reasons why I mentioned this also is because it's such a big deal to me, because I also always tell the story that at 2008, I didn't see anybody young at EVO. Yeah. And I was just like, this is the beginning of the end. Right. And then Street Fighter 4 came out and changed all that. But, to me, it's such an important thing to have so many young players being so strong, and it just means a great future for the community.
I'm with you. Mm-hmm. It's very funny. I didn't end up putting this, but I've really considered saying that, hey, the old folks are still really good. I considered having exactly the opposite topic. Tokido and Haitani and Itazan and Kudans and
actually,
there's like a bunch of Tekken heads. Like I really thought that would be a good one. Yeah, but I understand.
I also wanted to put in the story, but I didn't. Is that you can still be good if you're married. Aitani obviously just got married. Dogura got married. And those guys are all doing super good. So there you go. Yeah, no, I totally understand. I mean, it's great both ways. We have the veterans. and we have the youth here. It's not. I guess I should say that the rise of the youth isn't like as opposed to the veterans. Like it just means that they're both good, but I just think the youth part is something that I'd like to focus on. So
I would say in some games they basically have only stayed alive in Street Fighter and Tekken.
The veterans, you mean?
Maybe that's not true. Guilty Gear is still like that. Anyway,
yeah, that's true.
All right, never mind.
Number one.
My number one, the return of Tekken.
Oh.
Return of Tekken. For many, many years, Tekken was one of the big franchises, and it got a ton of entrants, and it was really like one of the big ones. And then for also many years, it really just languished. You know,
it really did.
It was really in the dumps, and I don't think that the games were bad. I remember enjoying Tag 2. I know Tekken players had some issues with it, but I don't think that was really the issue. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, why it is that Tekken 7 has had this resurgence. I'm sure part of it is the sick, round-ending slowdown mechanic. That's cool.
Oh, by the way,
it can't just be that.
I just want to mention, so Majin Obama even mentioned in Blaze Blue that the veterans survived but were executed this year at EVO by young kids.
Okay, yeah,
so
that's
even
right.
in Blaze Blue, so there you go. But anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why it is that Tekken has become big again.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm very happy to see it in any case. I think that's great.
You know what? Tekken 7, and actually after watching Master Cup, not Master Cup, Co-op Cup, Third Strike, presentation
is huge, of course.
Presentation
but
is probably one of the most important factors. And
I'm with you. I just don't think that it's... I already thought Tekken was pretty. I already thought it had great soundtracks. Like, it has had those things. It didn't have the round-ending slowdown, but other than that, it's like basically the same.
Yeah, Tekken Tag 2, I remember, was the start of it. It looked flashier. And then I just think Tekken 7 just really kind of...
It did.
Because I even hated the round-ending replay from 3 different angles thing that they used to have. The pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, who cares?
But but now it's just like everything about Tekken 7 is just like massively hype. So
I just don't know why it's so different. But in any case, I'm happy to see that it's getting much better reception. I feel like that it feels right again to have Tekken in that high position.
Right. Okay. So my number one story of the year... I'm going to call it the Dragon Ball FighterZ Curveball.
Oh, boy.
I feel like this was this thing changed how everybody was thinking about fighting games at the time.
Okay.
Because when it was announced at E3, there was no leaks about it.
That's
Nobody
right.
knew it was coming out.
Crazy.
MVCI was just at the previous... I think Sony presentation, they're like, here's the story mode demo, and everyone played it and was like, what the hell? What is this? What happened to Chun's face? Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, Dragon Ball, and then just the internet exploded. And the fighting game community I just don't feel like it's been the same. Like it affected so much. It affected, and everyone is so hyped for this, and the amount of excitement generated for this game, and everyone's talking about how this could be basically the biggest thing in 2018.
Yeah.
Like crazy, and it really kind of put every franchise on notice.
I think that's
what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really does have that potential to be that game. Because it also has the fan base of Dragon Ball built in with it. And so just the crazy hype that's been going along with it. I mean, I really feel like if Dragon Ball FighterZ didn't exist, that MVCI might not even be as hated, because boy, does that game make MVCI. It puts MVCI to shame, like graphically. Like
it's not just, even a contest.
Yeah, and it's just when you saw those two games announced at the same event like that. So the MVCI at E3 was the first time we got to see that much of it, and you just looked at it and you're like, what happened? And then Dragon Ball FighterZ came out and Fighters, and you were just like, oh my god, this is the most beautiful. And it's so funny too, because like I was just showing Guilty Gear Xrd to my friend, my friend who I used to play Guilty Gear with all the time. He just hasn't kept up because he's family and all this stuff like that. So I showed it to him, and we were showing him all the instant kills. And as I was watching it, I was like, man, this really just all feels like it was like building up to this Dragon Ball, because you could see kind of like how they were growing and how they were getting better at it, and now Dragon Ball is just like the most ridiculous looking game. So that is my #1 story of the year.
I think that's a cool pick, man. I'll be talking more about that later. Yeah, I think that's a great pick for sure.
Yep, for sure. Okay.
All right, let's move on. We have FGC Member of the Year. Now, I feel like we pick the same people a lot of the time.
Yeah,
And you were just saying that you'd like to strike some people out because you would always pick them otherwise.
I put Tenno Productions as #1 last year. I know a couple, I think like Tasty Steve did as well, you know, and I had them up here. I had them at like #2, I think, this year. And
well, so Tenno Productions are the people who stream a lot of things. Capcom Fighters stuff, Tekken, a lot of other things that you wouldn't even expect, actually. But
they did like the Nintendo World Championships,
Nintendo stuff.
right? They did Nintendo. They did the Splatoon stuff at E3. Yeah. It's the Chris Seglia, Hanzo Gonzo, like all those guys. I mean, it's just they do the most ridiculous work, and I feel like that without them, there is no fighting game community right now. Like honestly, it's they do Evo, they do Capcom Cup, they do everything. Basically.
They are big players, no doubt. So you want to just strike them out because of that?
I had them literally before we started the show, and I erased them. Because I couldn't do it.
Well, you're going first here.
All right, so you had him on here last year, but I always want to, see if I can get some good commentators out here, and so I put #3 as Katana Prime.
All right.
Because there was just one point in time I was watching him broadcast one of the Injustice top 8s, and I just the cadence that he has, the language that he has. So Seth Killian, I've always said, is one of the greatest commentators because of the flower of speech that he has.
Yeah, he can get fancy like.
Yeah, the way that he creates these like nice little sentences and stuff like that. And I felt like when I was watching that, Katana Prime kind of came the closest to that.
He could definitely do that. I agree with you.
And so I was just listening to it. I like the tone of his voice. I like the things that he says. He's very analytical. He was on E-League this year. He got to do a bunch of stuff for the IPS and everything like that. So, oh yeah, that's right. Do I still have my Katana Prime sticker here? I do. There you go. Oh, there you go. So there you go. Katana Prime. There you go. This is my #3 this year. So
yeah, I think that's a good pick. I picked him last year, right?
Yeah. You had him last year. So
3rd place, Markman. Good old Markman. I feel like this is also somebody who we should just like strike off. Obviously.
Right.
Obviously. I thought about putting Rick on there.
Yeah.
Like obviously.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
It's like struggle to not include those guys. So I caved for Markman. He does everything, right? He's doing dev stuff. He does Evo stuff. He's marketing.
Tekken World Tour.
He commentates still.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's doing a lot of things all at the same time in a way that few other people are, and he's doing all of them super well. He must be extremely busy. It doesn't sound easy to me at all, but he's doing it, and some things were awesome. In big part because of him, or they happened in the first place because of him.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I think he's extremely important.
I mean, we've talked about. You said about the return of Tekken. I mean, that's almost like you got to feel like that's like 50% Markman.
Really, he has a big hand to play.
Right.
Role to play.
Exactly.
Big hand / big role to play.
Right.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Who do you got for #2?
#2, I'm just gonna call them. New media people, basically.
New media.
Because I just feel like we're getting a lot of like people out there who are really trying hard to write about the FGC, to spread the FGC. We've even got good articles on like non-FGC sites talking about fighting game stuff.
Right.
In fact, someone just on Twitter like put out some information on like why everyone should be in the FGC and all this stuff like that. But I know a lot of people are frustrated with Kotaku and everything like that. I know they give guys like Ian a hard time and everything, but I talk to Ian a lot, and I think what he's doing for Kotaku is actually really important. And a lot of people don't understand the kind of role that he has to play in that situation, because he really has to try to cater FGC stories to an audience that doesn't care about the FGC.
Yeah.
Right.
He also doesn't write the headlines, by the way.
And he doesn't write the headlines. Exactly.
That's how media works.
Yeah. So, but it's not even just him, but we've got a lot of new writers. Red Bull has been getting Ginny now to do a lot of writing over there as well. There's a lot of people here who really want to promote the scene a lot more. And, you know, I want to give a shout out to this because it's tough. This is also this year that Yahoo Esports closed down. And, you know, a lot of those guys were doing great things over there as well. You know, Michael Martin was doing a lot of good things over there and everything. So, you know, it's unfortunate, that kind of situation. But, you know, I do see a lot of new writers coming up. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to all these guys really trying hard to do a lot of good media. And I hope that continues because that's going to play a very, very important role in the growth of the FGC.
Sure.
You know, to have people writing these kind of stories for non-fighting game sites, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, best of 5 does best.
Yeah, best of 5. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, I think they do a really good job. All right.
I guess I was more referring to actually writing.
Oh yeah. People were talking about it in chat.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Got it.
For sure.
Yeah. Because obviously, like Born Free would be a great one there as well.
Also great.
So yeah.
For sure. Okay, my number 2 is the Red Bull crew. It's hard for me to pick somebody out in particular, in part because there's like Red Bull Europe and Red Bull North America, and they do different things and whatnot. But or maybe it's like Red Bull France. It's like very attenuated. I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to give them a shout out, especially the North American guys, because I think that the stuff that they do is super important.
Yeah.
You know, as we were talking about earlier with Proving Grounds and with Battlegrounds, I love the community-focused style that they have. It is very important to them to build it from the ground up. Less important to them to build it from the top down. Right? They would rather not do that. They sponsor some players, of course. They make media, but extremely important to them to build communities. I think they're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
Right? I think that is the most important thing. So I think it's awesome that we have people in a position that has a ton of money,
right?
And the ability to do things, who have that mindset. I think that's extremely beneficial to us.
Yeah. I was actually going to put the Red Bull crew down, and I did not. But that was definitely... And actually, I feel really terrible now because, honestly, I have something for number 1, but I feel like for number 1, I should be putting Born Free in there. I think he slipped my mind, and I didn't have him as number 1 here, unfortunately. But my number 1 is an interesting FGC Member of the Year. My number 1 FGC Member of the Year is you.
No, are you serious?
Is you.
I'm just joking. Okay,
it
fine.
is
All right.
Absolutely okay, you. Right. Mainly because it is... I'm serious, dude.
Okay, all right.
I'm serious.
I was making a joke about Time Magazine's Person of the Year several years ago.
Yeah, no, but I'm actually going to do that because the main reason why is... And I'm saying this not necessarily as a good or bad thing, because obviously it's very important that the people out there are supporting and watching and being the audience for this and everything like that. But also, I feel like the public opinion has gotten so strong now. You know, the social media, the way that people view things. You know, I feel like it's affecting a lot of stuff.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We are literally seeing games being changed because of what people are saying on social media. You know,
Absolutely.
We're seeing like all... Dude, the fact that even AE has that crazy hitbox color thing, like Capcom has always been this company that was like, we're not going to show hitboxes because we don't want people copying our tech and, you know, weird archaic ideas like that. Now they're putting this red-blue thing in there and... Like, it's so shocking to me that they would put something in there if it wasn't for people saying we need more features, we need more things like that. So I just feel like the social media's verse, the people out there, the people watching the chat, there's the chat personalities are like crazy now. Like there are people in multiple chats that are in every chat and people just know who these guys are and everything like that, you know. So I just feel like right now the people out there are kind of the most important people in the fighting game community. So Time Magazine, you is absolutely... I thought you read it on my screen when you said that. So okay.
I think that's true to say that
was supposed to be number 1. I still have number 2 written here. So
I think it's true to say that the larger community is the most important thing. I absolutely think that's true. Yeah, I think that's always been the case. But I think that part of why devs are more responsive to them now you're right that it's more visible. It's not like hidden on shoryuken.com or whatever anymore.
Right.
In a way that was difficult to see, sort of. But on top of that, many of the devs are now people who grew up doing the thing that everybody else does.
It's true.
And so they feel like they are from that in a way that makes it, both so that they feel like they're beholden to people, but also they share many of the same concerns anyway.
Right.
Right. They get it. Right. They can't always do things about it. Right. Because there are other people in companies who have more decision making power than they do. Believe me, I'm sure things would be different if some of them had more power.
The thing is, the only caveat I'm going to add to that, honestly, is I feel like that's true mostly for the U.S. teams.
Maybe more accurately, non-Japan.
Yeah,
I think the EU folks do a great job.
Non-Japan. Except, actually, that's not even necessarily true now because Harada's doing a great job listening to people.
Look, we're talking about Capcom.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Talking about Capcom.
and honestly, maybe Nintendo.
Nintendo is. I mean, even they are starting to get tugged along a little bit, but we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. My number one FGC member of the year is also collective. It's Marvel Lives crew. As I talked about earlier when I had Marvel 3 in Game of the Year, I was very impressed by how they kept the game going and not they sort of fought back against the prevailing narrative, which was that Marvel was dying or that it had died or is a fait accompli. But they did a lot of really good stuff. They made the tour, right? Where you have
the curly mustache,
curly stuff. They made the podcast. They made a website. They made a Twitter account. They were posting stuff a lot. They have. Every other week they're doing good discussions on the game, and they I think do a great job of keeping it alive. So that's the kind of thing that I would love to see from all the communities, right? Consistent content, a tournament series, all the things are there.
Yeah, you mentioned the Twitter account. Shout outs to whoever keeps finding the animated GIFs for all their tweets. Because I love seeing the ones that they choose. But
yeah, no, I shout outs to all of them.
Okay.
Very good work.
I still have this listed as jchensor number 1. Sorry.
You are slacking.
This is rough, man.
I wouldn't have started it, dude.
I thought this was a good idea.
It is a good idea.
It's a good idea, but this is why we need a stream producer and not me doing everything myself.
Newcomer of the Year.
Newcomer of the Year. Newcomer of the Year.
Am I up?
Oh, yes, you are up first. So, number 3, what is your Newcomer of the Year?
Oh, yeah, chat, you nailed it.
What
it's ARMS. It's not ARMS.
Of course, we should also clarify that Newcomer doesn't have to be a person.
No. Person, game, whatever.
Concept,
event.
joke, whatever, whatever we feel like it. So
there you go. My third is Moke.
Okay.
Yeah. He came from more out of nowhere than typically, right? Typically when somebody comes from out of nowhere, like Punk had been playing SF4 online for like 3 or 4 years, right? Like a long time, and people knew about him. The first time I ever heard about Moke was in maybe like end of season 1, and only like, hey, a pretty good online player. And then the first time I ever saw him in person was at Evo, and he made top 8. Like that is a crazy fast series.
Yeah.
And maybe there's an extra history that I haven't heard, but I've asked some of the Japanese players whether they knew him previously, and they have said no. They didn't know who he was until like a year and a half ago. So that rise. Oh, he was a Persona player? Maybe I asked the wrong guys. I asked Street Fighter players.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
That actually is very good to know.
Yeah, that is good to know.
Now here I am calling Nemo Newcomer of the Year for 2013.
He qualified for Togeki and Persona the last year of SBO.
Hey. Shout-outs to that. All right, I had no idea.
Shout-outs to Majin Obama, of course.
Yeah, in the chat I even tried to do due diligence on this. At Capcom Cup, I asked a few of the players there whether they had heard of Moke before, like a year before, and they all said no.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay. My Newcomer of the Year for number 3 is Dragon Ball fans. Because, now that Dragon Ball FighterZ is announced, they have a new fighting game to play. For once, they actually have a fighting game to play. Because they didn't really have any fighting games before. So,
well, they have fighting games. They exist.
No,
it's
funny because there's actually a lot of the Dragon Ball fans of the original games out there that were like that are complaining about fighters right now. They're saying there's not enough characters and the game looks ugly and all these things like that.
About Dragon Ball?
Yeah, There's
some. What?
Yeah, some people have actually said that the game looks bad because it's so choppy or whatever like that and stuff. So I can't
even. I feel like I can empathize reasonably well with people, but man, all right, that's out of the blue for me.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, some people in the chat are saying like they don't want this game. They're outraged. It's crazy like that. So
they don't want it.
It's weird. Like they're mad that there's not 50 characters or 100 characters. Like there's not all like 87 versions of Goku in the game and everything like that all the Xenoverse games and stuff like that have. So I mean, this is kind of a joke one because I'm really just like like welcome to the FGC kind of thing because this is going to be an interesting upcoming year for them and everything like that. So hopefully they do come and they do play and they do enjoy the game. So, but you know what, they're going to have a pretty. I don't want to. So here's two sides of it, right? There's one, they're going to have a pretty brutal welcoming because they're going to fight against a lot of fighting game players and they're going to get beat up by a lot of these guys, right? But at the same time, if you are a player who's playing this game and you are going to beat up on these people, don't rub it in their faces. Don't be a jerk about it. Like, try to welcome them into the community. Like, don't give them more reason to be like, this game is garbage because it's so cheap. You just do this and I can't beat it. It's garbage, which is ironic because that's kind of what you do in a lot of the other games, right? I mean, people are all complaining because, they're saying, like, if Yamcha is going to be good in the game, apparently that's not canon at all, and everyone's mad about that. Because Yamcha is supposed to be a jobber or something like that. I was asking my chat about that, but apparently he might actually be kind of strong in the game.
In the previous games, has it been like that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But
I've never played them.
Yeah, but it's interesting. There's going to be a lot of interesting ways to do that. So while there is a joke to it, at the same time, there's kind of a plea to like not try to put these guys off. From the game because there is a potential for them to be a giant new audience in the fighting game community. And so, hopefully those people are actually... Mr. Friday's been saying that. He said this in my chat yesterday as well. So,
Pokemon dad.
Oh, yeah. So Rift Tripper actually says that previous games were basically canon for tiers.
Weird.
Yeah, so bad characters are supposed to be bad and stuff like that. So...
Well, we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
I'm excited for it.
Okay.
We'll talk about that more later. Because I haven't talked about it more yet because I feel like it didn't come out last year.
Oh, it didn't? Yeah.
Right, so I'll be talking about it next year.
Yeah, for sure.
My number 2 is Injustice 2. It's a newcomer. It's new. And it was my favorite game this year. And I had it as Game of the Year. The one that I considered putting it above it, but decided not to, Tekken 7, has been out for like 3 years.
right, exactly.
So it's not in any sense a newcomer other than that it's finally playable for more people. So Injustice 2 is up there.
Okay.
Pretty self-explanatory, I feel.
I mean, you talked about Injustice 2 before as well, so yeah. My number 2, sorry, you did that quickly, so...
That's it.
My number 2 is going to be Mena RD.
Mena
RD because he...
Number 1 also for me.
Oh, you have him as number 1 for yourself? Okay. Obviously, won Capcom Cup. I had him as I had him as my player of the year, right? So I mean, I just feel like he's just like ridiculous. I feel like I had him in my number 2. I had him in number 2 for player of the year. So I just feel like it's funny too because there was someone even found a post from him. I forgot where it was. They found it at. It was like in some Discord or like GameFAQs or some crazy forum where he was like, hi. Oh, I think it was Reddit actually, where he was like, "Hi, my name is Mena RD. I'm going to be playing Street Fighter. Keep a lookout." And this was like really recently, and now he's like one of the best players in the world. You know, and it's pretty crazy. So
that is pretty wild.
I feel like he really is a true newcomer here. So I gave him number 2.
Now, wait, isn't that your first?
No, that was my number 2.
Oh, well, he's my first place.
He's your number 1, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, people are talking about Punk in the chat. I picked Punk last year. Boom. All right. I knew it was going to happen this year. I knew 17. I knew it was going to happen. So I picked him already.
Right.
Which is why I can't pick him this year.
Right. So you have Mena RD as number one.
So Mena RD is number one.
Anything else you want to add about him?
You know, I thought about putting him in some other stuff here, but what I am, you know, sort of to build on what you said, I think he's very important in the sense that he shows other people that you can become super, super good. I think that he's he's like a show of accessibility, right? That other people can see through him that, hey, you can pick up these games, and you can beat the player who's been one of the best players in the world for 20 years. Almost nobody's going to do that. Almost nobody. But it's possible, and not only is that a lesson for everybody, right, anywhere in the world, but it's, I think, super good for somebody like Mena, who comes from a very disadvantaged background. I was talking with him at the end of Capcom Cup after he had won, and he was sitting in a little seat, right, in a little armchair there, with his head in his hands, and just like trying to process the fact that now he has millions of dollars, well, it's the equivalent for him anyway, and that he can buy a mansion and, you know, whatever.
Right.
He was telling me, you know, he was working at like a game store, and he had a 3-hour round trip to just go to work. For that's what he was telling me.
Dang.
And he was working for whatever minimum wages, and he was barely he and his family barely scraping by. You know, they barely had any money, and what his little free time there was, this was like his one outlet, was Street Fighter, and that, you know, for somebody from that kind of background to win $250,000 in USD and beat Tokido and continue the streak, as you said, he won KIT. That is a big lesson, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, and also
very important.
It goes back to your story of the year, which was the Dominicans, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times people say, "Oh, my scene isn't strong enough," or whatever like that. But honestly, you'd be surprised at how far you could get with 2 or 3 or 4 really strong players, as long as the crew of you are really focused on being stronger. The Dominicans, the great one, obviously they've got more than 4 people. They've got a pretty small crew over there, but you know, there's been like 4 or 5 main guys who are really strong, and they keep pushing each other. I always like to bring up the Utah scene again, Peru and Gustavo, right? Like those were the 2 main guys from that scene, and they just practiced with each other, and they got super good at the game. You can become very strong at fighting games as long as you have a dedicated group of people that are all there. And again, this comes down to that whole lesson again of, if your friend has a weakness that you keep exploiting because you like winning, like stop doing it.
For sure.
Just tell them, you know, because if you can beat them once you can't exploit that anymore, it makes you a better player, it makes them a better player, et cetera, et cetera. You're just going to get stronger that way. So
No, Mena RD also played Smash. That's true. I mean, it's not like we knew him in 2016. It's not from super nowhere, but it's pretty meteoric.
Yeah.
It's pretty meteoric. It's one of the better ones. And like I said, I think the most important thing about him is not just that he won or that he is the newcomer, but that it's where he came from to do it. Okay.
Well, so my number one is Punk, because I did not have him last year. He was not on my list last year. You had Punk on there. You knew he was going places. I wasn't 100% sure yet, but yeah, he's pretty much the best. And he had a dominating year, and even getting 9th at Capcom Cup, I mean, that's not like, oh, what a flaming, you know, like what you flamed out or whatever, you know, and all that stuff like that. Dude, 9th at Capcom Cup is ridiculous, right? I mean, especially getting 2nd at EVO and just playing consistent all year long. Last year, we were talking about Infiltration the first half of the year. He kind of flamed out during the second half of the year, even going 0-2 at Capcom Cup. Did not happen with Punk. He got sent to loser's bracket in the first round because of the last chance qualifier rule. Probably has to be reworked a little bit, because I just don't think the last chance qualifier should be placed against number 1 seed. That was kind of an unfortunate situation. But then he went through loser's bracket and beat everyone, and eventually only lost to your number 3, Ponos Moke. Right. So I mean, it's like you can't even look at that and be like, what an underperformance, you know? This guy is. It's remarkable to see his growth and to see how strong he is. And even at KIT, he just got, I believe it was 4th place as well, you know. So he's still maintaining that. He is he is basically one of the main faces on the scene right now in Street Fighter V, I should say.
Definitely.
Although he's been playing a few other games here.
He's a good Marvel player. For a while, he was making top 16s in Injustice. I'm not sure if he's kept that game up.
Right.
Mena did the same, by the way. But yeah, no, he's super good.
Yeah, so obviously, I did not have him last year, so I have to put him on here this year. So.
You got it. Makes sense to me. Okay. We have 3 more categories. Random select, which is whatever we want to talk about. Worst of 2017. Personal FGC resolutions for 2018. Do you want to take a break, or do you want to go through those right now? Up to you.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, quick break.
Yeah, let's take a quick break, and we come back. We will do the rest of our awards. All right, be right back, guys.